Paul Pogba is back, but not with the bang you might expect. No grand press conference, no flashy announcement, no hype campaign. Instead, it's a quiet whisper from the French Riviera. AS Monaco, a club known more for rebuilding careers than breaking transfer records, is preparing to hand Pogba a lifeline. The context? Just a few months ago, Paul Pogba was out of football. A failed doping test had resulted in a ban that many feared would be career-ending. Testosterone, the substance found in his system, is no minor offense. The initial verdict was harsh: 4 years, essentially wiping out the rest of his professional life. But after an appeal and a reduction to 2 years, Pogba's sentence quietly ended. He was once again eligible to play. And just like that, from suspension to potential redemption, Pogba now finds himself on the verge of an unlikely return, wearing the red and white of AS Monaco. It's a surprising twist, but maybe not an unearned one, because if there's one constant in Paul Pogba's career, it's this: nothing ever happens quietly. A prodigy marked for greatness and drama. Pogba was born in Lagny-sur-Marne, a quiet suburb east of Paris, to Guinean parents. From a young age, his talent was evident. Coaches described him as a natural: strong, tall, elegant on the ball. He played with the flair of a winger but had the body of a centre-back. At just 16, Manchester United snapped him up from Le Havre, a transfer that sparked legal controversy and public fallout between the two clubs. But at United, Pogba's initial years were forgettable. He dominated at the youth level, helped win the FA Youth Cup in 2011, but couldn't break into the first team under Sir Alex Ferguson. The final straw came in a Premier League match when Ferguson played Rafael da Silva, a right-back, in midfield instead of Pogba. The message was clear: Pogba's patience ran out, so did his contract. He left United in 2012 on a free, much to Ferguson's public annoyance. Juventus swooped in, and that's where the world met Pogba. The Juventus explosion. In Turin, Pogba didn't just develop, he exploded. He scored long-range rockets, pulled off pirouettes in midfield, and dictated games like a veteran. Alongside Andrea Pirlo, Arturo Vidal, and Claudio Marchisio, he formed a midfield quartet that dominated Serie A. Juventus won title after title. Pogba's Instagram highlights turned into viral moments. His market value soared. People weren't asking if Pogba would be world-class, they were arguing if he already was. He won 4 Serie A titles in a row, was named Golden Boy of Europe in 2013, and reached the Champions League final in 2015. By 2016, Pogba was 23 years old and one of the most famous midfielders in the world. That's when Manchester United came calling. Again. The record-breaking return and slow unraveling, £89 million. At the time, it was the most expensive transfer in football history. Pogba returned to Old Trafford with sky-high expectations. He was the face of a new era. He arrived with a flashy video featuring Stormzy, Adidas campaigns, and an aura of superstar status that United hadn't seen in years. But on the pitch, reality didn't match the hype. Under Jose Mourinho, Pogba clashed with his manager. Mourinho benched him, criticized him publicly, and eventually stripped him of the vice-captaincy. At one point, he called Pogba a virus in the dressing room. It was ugly. Yet, despite the tension, Pogba still delivered memorable moments. A double against Manchester City in the famous 3-2 comeback. 4 assists in a single game against Leeds. A beautiful curler versus Fulham. But none of it ever lasted. Injuries constantly interrupted his rhythm. His form dipped in and out. The pressure of being the most expensive player weighed on him. And when he wasn't in the headlines for football, he was in them for everything else. Haircuts, fashion lines, cryptic Instagram posts, transfer rumors, feuds with pundits. And worst of all, the feeling that Pogba wasn't taking things seriously. Critics began to ask, does he care more about the game or the image? He became a polarizing figure, loved and hated in equal measure. A different player in blue. But while Pogba was inconsistent at club level, something changed when he wore the French shirt. At Euro 2016, he led France to the final. At the 2018 World Cup, he was immense, calm, disciplined, mature. In the final against Croatia, Pogba scored a crucial goal and played with complete authority. Inside the dressing room, his speech before the final, fiery, passionate, raw, went viral. He was the heartbeat of a world champion team. It was a side of Pogba many hadn't seen or refused to see, but it was real. The problem? That version only showed up in blue. Back in Manchester, it was more of the same. By 2022, his contract expired, and like his first spell at United, he left on a free. Again. The second Juventus chapter. And the downfall, Pogba returned to Juventus, hoping to revive his career where it had once flourished. But the second chapter in Turin was nothing like the first. He arrived injured, missed pre-season, then picked up another injury, missed the World Cup. And when he was finally close to playing again, another bombshell dropped. Failed doping test. The sample showed the presence of testosterone, a banned substance. The news stunned the football world. Pogba, once a golden boy, now faced a suspension of up to 4 years. Juventus froze his contract. Sponsors quietly distanced themselves. And just like that, Paul Pogba vanished. It was a sad, surreal fall from grace. Not because he was no longer elite, but because he was no longer present at all. Monaco, the comeback or the goodbye. Now in 2025, Pogba is 32. And AS Monaco, a club with a history of taking chances on fallen stars, is knocking. It makes sense. Monaco isn't a club of chaos. It's calm. It's structured. They don't expect Pogba to be a Ballon d'Or contender. They expect leadership, experience, and if he can stay fit, a spark of his old brilliance. For Pogba, this isn't about rebuilding his brand. This is about survival. One last shot. No more luxury of patience. No more injury rehab videos. No more cryptic tweets. Just football, or nothing. There's also a poetic layer to this move. Back in France, in a quieter league. No longer the superstar, just a man trying to finish his story on his own terms. He's not the record breaker anymore. Not the face of Adidas, not the next Zidane. He's a player trying to prove he still belongs, even if it's just to himself. So who is Paul Pogba? He's a World Cup winner, a Serie A champion, a Champions League finalist. He's also a player who walked out on one of the biggest clubs in the world, twice. A man banned for doping. A superstar who struggled with consistency. A talent both wasted and unforgettable. Who's that? That's Paul Pogba. A footballer of extremes, a career full of brilliance, chaos, and now, a hint of humility. And maybe, just maybe, a comeback still worth watching.